This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hey there, it's Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more. And if it's Tuesday, that means we're live around the world on over 103 outlets. Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Apple, Anchor, live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. The only thing we're not doing, Terri, is Twitter, but I don't care about Twitter. But besides that, we're doing well. But here's the thing, I've been waiting for this show for months. Months and months and months and months and months, and I'll tell you why. Because Howard Wiggins is in from Nashville, Tennessee, actor, dapper dancer. Susan N is here. I've been waiting for her for 4 months, and we finally got here, and we talked for 3 hours, and Susan never talks to anybody for 3 hours. I felt honored she wasted her time on me, which was great. But, you know, with her, she's a writer. She's got over 30 years of experience in PR. If you need a PR publicist, I recommend her for one. But it's also one of those things. Let's see. I do this all off the top of my head. Whether it's tips for fearless living or, let's see, a practical guide to living fearlessly. And then the other thing I want to say is all about energy, Susan, isn't it? So it could be protecting or, I forgot your third book, putting awareness into practice, right?
My first book is a practical guide to awareness. The workbook is putting awareness into practice. The new book is a practical guide to living fearlessly.
See, I did it all in a paragraph. That was the whole thing. The one and only art. Susan, give your name. Go ahead.
Susan Nefzger, hey.
So, all right, so Tom, this is all about you. It's about Dignity Lifts. But it's one of the things where he and I started talking, Terri, I was telling you about this product back in last November, December. What a funny guy he was. What a nice guy he is. He had a company before this, which I found fascinating, which was Bulletproof. What was it? Bullet Safe, Bulletproof Vest. And I thought that was fascinating. So once he sold that, he went into this. This is all about dignity for, I say, experienced seniors. We all have someone or had someone who went through hip problems, knee problems, getting up off the toilet and things like that. So he created a great product called Dignity Lifts. And Tom, I'm honored to have you here because he won a 2023, I think it was Innovation Award from CES, and you didn't even submit one. They just gave it to you, as he jokingly said. I said, Tom, you deserved it because you came up with something that no one else came up with, right?
That's right. Thanks, Brian. And I met you at CES. We had talked before, but you came by and saw me.
I was not going to let going around find you. I had to find him. And I took my scooter into convention. No one could catch me. And he was like one of the last booths I went to. I wanted to make sure I went to his booth because it was fabulous. And like I said, I wanted to meet the guy that made me laugh who had a great product. And that's very, very important to me. And then so Kay Ross, let's talk about this. Let's see. I think you're a writer, producer, exec product. Actor, filmmaker, host of the Victory Road, if I got that correct, and also Sanctuary. See? And so with all these personalities, these things, I don't like to write things down. I like to go off my top of my head. Susan is all about energy. And when Nonstop Carrie Marie comes on, my longest living co-host with over 8 years, and she drives me nuts, but we adore each other. We're like brother and sister, huh, Terri?
Yes, we are. And I'm glad that I'm part of the team.
Exactly. So here's the good thing about this. It's all about bringing those great personalities together and those best-selling authors and getting the word out in different ways. So, Susan, I got to start with you because you're very interesting, and I want to thank you for taking the time that we talked for 3 hours. I thought that was spectacular. I take these things seriously. Let's talk about your book and why it's important, and your photography. You got great photography.
Well, first of all, it's all the creative process, right? So at age around, I mean, after age 50 is when I really tapped into my creative consciousness through a retreat in Glastonbury, England. And I was going just with no expectations to go to a writing retreat, thinking I might write a book. And I started writing the book the first year. But what happened was I just tapped into the creative consciousness, so everything flowed from there. And the reason I take pictures is to share that vision with other people. It's really for no other reason. And it's just become a very passionate hobby for me. And I write poetry and I wrote my book. And so then I discovered through that process that helping everybody, other people become self-aware is my purpose. So through various means, whether it's public speaking or my, how my essays, my writing, and my books, I help people become self-aware. I also do executive coaching because awareness is the key to everything else. As soon as you become self-aware, and it's not easy, I say it like just do it. It doesn't just happen. You become the objective observer. So when you can observe what bothers you, why you get angry, what inspires you, what's your passion, once you know those things, then you can focus on what it is that you want to accomplish. But if you don't know any of those things about yourself, if you don't know your why, you can't succeed. It's just much more joyful, and you make other people happy in the process when you're self-aware. And focus is so much easier, and you know exactly what you're doing, you know where you're going. So basically, for me, it's my passion and my purpose to help others become self-aware.
And with that, Tom, I think I believe you lived out that too because of what you created and what you were doing before, and to have the product that you have, that with your humor, it's your humor that I think really sells that product, doesn't it?
Well, I think that when we decided to launch this business, I sold the other company, and I had to find something to do for work, and I'm not really hireable. I don't think I can work for someone else at this stage in my life. So I wanted to start something new. And, I think anytime you're considering a bunch of different options, you have to weigh certain things. And one of the things we weighed very heavily was, where's this new business going to be a good fit for me? Would it fit with my personality? It can't be hyper serious. I'm not a hyper serious person. I like to joke around. And it had to be, honestly, I don't like to compete. I don't feel like a very competitive person. I wanted a business where there was no one else doing what I was going to do. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty or have to watch my back for competitors. I just want to bring out a new product into the world and then make people's lives better. So that was part of it. Working with the elderly as nothing, I had no experience with. I didn't really understand or know what it was going to be like. It was a big unknown for me, but I was willing to try if the other aspects of the business fell into place, and they seem to be doing so, and I like it.
And that makes sense. And then Kay, when it comes to, it's all about, for me, empowering women when it comes to our show, or I guess, and things like that. So I like the fact that you're doing a lot of things. And again, we've not met. I never know when one of my publicist friends puts someone on. I'm like, okay, who's this person? How is this going to work? But the thing is, you know what it's like to put on a podcast. You know what it's like to be that executive producer and to raise money, which is not easy for independent film, because it's all about helping independent filmmakers, right?
Oh, yeah. And currently even harder, because with the strikes going on, specifically the SAG strike, it immediately took away all ability for our talents to even get involved with the fundraising. But to your point, there is this learned attribute every time that you take on a project, whether it is a podcast or whether it is starting a whole other company, or even writing a book, which I am totally signing up for your next 3-hour conversation, Susan. That sounds amazing. But you guys know as well as I do that when you take on those projects, it gives you that sense of resolve that says, no matter, if there's 2 people that show up or 20 people that show up, if there's 200 people that show up, I'm still going to, follow this through to the end. So even now, as Sanctuary, our little train that could, because this is an epic short film, as much as it is a proof of concept, Sanctuary is also, it has driving scenes and it has fight scenes, and clearly we used SAG actors, and we both filmed on location and built a set. So for all of those challenges that we set for each other, at the end of the day, you still have to finish what you started. So it as much as the SAG actors absolutely had to do this strike, and that it's the fight that they have to move forward with, we also have to move forward with our campaign. So that's what we're doing. We're just moving forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tom, you had to move forward when you were creating this too, right? Talk about this, and we're going to show a couple of photos of you at the conventions.
Sure. Well, one of the aspects you talk about attributes of a new business that were going to happen. And one of the things is I really like trade shows. I find that I work well face to face. I think I'm pretty good at explaining things. And although I'm not a really good salesperson, I'm a good person to meet. So we wanted to go into a business where we got to go in front of people and show off the product. So I do that. I do about a dozen trade shows a year. I travel all over the country, and I think last year I had conversation with like 1,500 people. So I talked to a lot of people. So
talk about winning that. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So my mom's 85 years old. She has knee issues. She's got congestive heart failure, and I'm currently taking care of her. So I was really interested in hearing more about how the product works, and maybe if this would be something that would benefit her for her quality of life. So if we could kind of explain that to us.
Sure. I have one right here. It's a toilet lift. It replaces your toilet seat. So it goes where you take the toilet seat off, and this goes around your existing toilet. It installs in about 15 minutes or so, and it goes up and down. So it helps you get all the way down to where a normal toilet seat would be, instead of one of those raised toilet seats, which there's some issues with those that come with those. And then it stands you all the way up. And it's just a simple little appliance that you put in your existing bathroom. So it doesn't disrupt the apple cart, so to speak. If you guys want me to, I could sit on it and push the button.
Yeah, we'd like to see how it works.
Go for it.
Sure. Demo. Product demo. So demonstration.
Hold on.
It raises and it lowers. It's not a particularly fast device. It takes 20 seconds to go all the way down and all the way up. But our customers generally are not in a big hurry. Mm-hmm. And it's just a useful thing. Typically, we work with occupational therapists to determine if the product is right for the customer. So if your mom is working with an OT, they can sort of give some guidance. Usually it has to do with how they're getting around, whether they can stand up from a low squat on their own, or what their cognitive abilities are as well. So, but a nice simple product. We have some, if you're really concerned about it or you want to know more, on dignitylifts.com, there's a little page you can pull down called Screening Tool, OT Screening Tool, and you can take a little quiz and see if your mom's a good candidate.
So is it good for people in wheelchairs?
Yeah, great question. Our typical user is someone that uses a walker or a rollator. That's a fancy word for a walker with wheels, or a mobility scooter to get around. Generally, wheelchair users don't need a lift because they do what's called a horizontal transfer. They can just slide onto the toilet. So they don't need the whole lifting mechanism because they're not getting to a standing position. So we typically work with people that are still standing and sort of walking around, but they just can't get up from a deep squat.
Susan, while you were talking earlier, we were showing some of your photos because you do more than one thing, obviously, and you do them well. But also, what made you get into photography? Because you know, when I'm looking at your Instagram, you have some great photos like the one before. I love stuff like this. It just reminds me what the world is like, in its stillness.
Right. Well, honestly, one summer, and when I still lived in Florida, now I live in Charleston, which is a beautiful place, let's face it. So I just decided one summer that I wasn't able to travel, and I like to travel. And I said, I know, I'm just going to start taking pictures and finding beauty every day. And finding beauty every day is the slogan on my blog. And so I just got really good at it. I don't know how to explain it because it's a passion, because I love it, and because I share this beauty with other people and they love it and it inspires them. And during the pandemic, what I did, because I lived in Atlanta then, I would share pictures and say today's beauty or daily beauty because people were, that's very, in all of the situations they were in, and that inspired people. And so it's just all about sharing your passion, and that's creativity and beauty, and helping people find joy and passion is something that just makes my day. So now I can't not take pictures. So I go out every morning, and sunsets are obviously a favorite.
And you like food too. You write food articles too. Talk about that.
Yeah. So traveling, cuisine is a thing that I love also. And so I got involved with an online food review site that's internet. It's national, but it's all local, regional reviews, people in their specific areas. And so I started doing that like 2 years ago for Charleston in Atlanta, and then now I'm focusing on the sustainable food culture in Charleston, because there's a group of farmers, growers, like there's all these niche people, and the restaurants have their own source of food, whether it's a farm for meat or whether it's produce. And so, like the latest one I did was on this guy who he does aeroponic produce growing in his backyard, and he supplies like 12 restaurants in Charleston that are like really, really famous restaurants that people love. But and the food is delicious. But there's a whole group of people like him. There's a whole circle that supplies Charleston, and it goes from holistic pig farming to mushrooms to produce, just everything, microgreens. And so it's really interesting how along the Eastern Seaboard, this is what restaurants and food people are doing. It's all hyper-local. It's all sustainable. And so I just decided to start focusing on it because I really like the subject matter. And the people are interesting, and I love to obviously dine out. So it's just, you have to do a lot of things these days, I think, when you're a creative. And it makes life interesting. So I like
And Kay, since you like food, I show you mouth watering for a minute there.
I did.
Talk about that since you love food.
microgreens. You can't believe the flavor intensity in these microgreens. You can't believe it. I was shocked.
Honestly, the moment you brought up the picture, I was like, I'm done. We're not even talking film anymore. Let's just stick to the food subject. I'm good for the rest of the day. I mean, first off, I think I'm a foodie by necessity first, because I have a wheat sensitivity and a peanut sensitivity. So early in my life, like 8 years old, I was tested. And I honestly, my whole family thought I was going to be lactose intolerant because my father was. And when that test came back and I figured out that I couldn't have my favorite PB&J anymore, like I cried real tears. And so it's just been a journey since, childhood to find food that I can eat that is anywhere near as satisfying as a glazed donut. And I will tell you, if you haven't checked out already, there are two big things that have helped me on my journey. One, there's a series on Netflix called Cooked, which is actually based on the same book.
I've read the book.
Oh, yeah. And then the book is such an interesting dive into the, kind of the history of food. And for me, learning about how bread rises, as someone who was not able to have bread for the longest time. Long story short, if you watch the episode on Air, which is about bread, the food scientist that he interviews he basically says, if you can have this guy's bread, it's possible you can still have the bread in Europe. And I just thought, well, I don't have celiacs. This is just a sensitivity technically. Let's give it a whirl. So I literally, took a weekend with my husband and, went up to, this food, it's a bakery up in Western Massachusetts. And we tried this guy's bread, and I, got a little sleepy, but it wasn't the end of the world. And the light bulb went on for me, as like little 8-year-old Kay went, oh, I can have bread. And I literally, at that moment, because he basically said, if you can have this guy's bread, you can also have European bread. I was like, y'all, I'm booking a flight to Paris now, because I have lived my entire life thinking I couldn't have pastries. And suddenly I can have Parisian pastries.
Right.
Okay, bucket list fulfilled. Thank you for listening to the story. But yes, that's why my eyes got all like starry-eyed. And also
I saw them.
From a sustainable standpoint as well, because when you think about like farm to table, that it's become such a thing right now, it's so inspiring, one, because it's so enjoyable for the consumer to actually be at that table and know that it's fresh. But also, how fulfilling is it for the farmer to finally feel like I'm going to have something that sustains me financially, which, just to tie it all back into kind of why I'm here, but like that's why I'm even here as an entrepreneur. Most producers are entrepreneur in essence, and especially with something like Sanctuary, and certainly with all the other projects I've been attached to, we're always looking for ways for things to be financially sustainable, because that's the bread and butter for all the other fun stuff, so yeah.
Hey Howard, talk about this. I've been thinking about you. I was talking about you to a lot of people this weekend. What room number are you in, and what are you wearing, first of all?
Actually, I'm in the living room this time, and I bought this hat just yesterday for this podcast, and the jacket too. And the jacket's like a double-breasted, but you can't see it. But
love the hat.
I'm a big art collector. I'm in the process of framing a lot of things in the house and just taking it up a notch. So
Nice.
just trying to do my best and make things look as best as I can.
And tell them what you do, Howard.
I'm Howard Wiggins, Howard Wiggins Facebook. I'm retired. I'm turning 70 in September, September 15th, if you want to wish me happy birthday. And I've got a movie coming up, Who's Going to Take Care of Me, with Catherine Pacino. She's in it. Paul Williams from the 80s, he's in it. Marvin Gaye's niece is in it. So I'm looking forward to that. Maybe get them out there and see Brian in Hollywood. So, and I'm just living life and enjoying it the best I can.
And Howard is he's the guy that looks good. It's not me, it's Howard. So, and he never wears the same thing twice. He's never in the same room, and it never looks the same. So that's the other thing. But he also eats good. He's a clean eater, sort of like how Terri is. So when it comes to that food, Susan, part of our conversation, I was thinking of these two, and this is Howard. That's why he's important to us. And then Terri, obviously, you know what it's like to have great food, because Tom, I'm coming to you next. To have that great food and to be that fitness person, talk about that.
Okay, well, if people don't know me, I've done several fitness shows. I have won. I have placed first at Muscle Beach in my division. I have placed at Miss Fitness Universe. I have placed at MPC, first, second place. So I'm very proud of that. So I basically am a clean eater. I'm in the gym every day. I've been with Brian for over 8 years doing entertainment podcasting. But
I'm getting rid of her tomorrow.
No, you're not. But I live my life pretty much, eating as clean as possible. But I'm so used to eating clean that I just can't eat processed stuff. Like I can't really eat a lot of gluten and cheese just doesn't sit right for me anymore, because I don't know, once you kind of cut out your diet, you kind of like lose that craving for it. So I crave a lot of I crave like fruits. I crave fruit all the time. And I try to eat a lot of greens. I mean, I like chocolate. I actually like dark chocolate. But yeah, I just try to stay as healthy as possible. Trying to drink more water as I'm getting older, because we know the importance of the pH and your water. And Sunday was my birthday.
I was gonna just say it was your birthday, Terry. I was gonna say happy birthday to you to everybody.
Yeah, and being in my middle 50s now is weird. But it happens all.
You still look good.
Yeah,
You could
thank
beat
you.
you still beat a lot of women, and when they see you, it's noticeable.
Okay, I appreciate that. Well, again, it's all about a diet, diet and fitness and a lifestyle for me. So, I mean, it's not anything I really think about. It's just how my lifestyle is now. If that makes any sense.
And you were talking about water, so we have to
Yeah.
always talk about balance seven. So Terry can talk about that, and then Howard, I want you to talk about your dancing because it's at 210,000 views and counting. Your 9-second clip.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Howard loves
music video.
Howard
coming
loves
up this
to dance.
Saturday I'm doing.
Really?
Yeah. I
When
do.
it's done,
I
send it
got
to
a
me.
dancing music video coming up this Saturday. We're taping with Christina Lucas, which you know from Nashville Women in Film. She's going to be dancing too. So.
Oh, Brian, I do have to add something.
Yeah.
So the two videos I'm going to be in for A Wicked Star are going to be released in September, both of them at the same time with their new album. So I will have two rock videos that I am going to be starring in that are going to be out in September. So maybe we can debut them on the show.
Okay. All right. So this is our little wacky world of everything. So Tom, I was going to ask you this: your product is sustainable too.
Right.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I just had a conversation with someone from Medium magazine, and they wrote an article. They were writing about an article about sustainability, which is a cause, a thing that's dear to me. And we were talking about sustainability in the nursing home environment, and it is unbelievable how bad nursing homes are. You have no idea the level of waste in nursing homes. It's unreal. One thing I learned is bedpans. You know a bedpan, right? Everybody knows what a bedpan is. Guess what happens after they're used? First of all, they have to be enough. They can't be flimsy because you have to support the person's weight. So this is like a large plastic, strong device. And after they're used, they throw them away.
Yep.
They throw them away. Could you imagine? I mean, I just can't even imagine what that is.
What is the alternative? I mean, because I use them for my mom, and I throw them away. I don't have a choice because I have to keep her bed clean for her health, and she has an issue. So I use bedpans and I throw them away. I mean, it's not like I don't. There's not an alternative for it.
Right. There's a couple of simple ones. One is you can use a liner in the pan,
and the liners don't work.
Right.
They don't. It goes right through it and ruins the bed. I've already tried that, and it's
Terri,
bad.
here's something. Try a commode liner. They're bigger, and they have some of them come with an absorbent pad underneath.
It's not. It hasn't. I'm gonna be really honest with you. I've tried everything, and really, I have to use a bedpan.
Well, in Europe, in other countries, see the thing about it is sometimes when you get outside the United States, you'll see a different solution.
Exactly.
Let me tell you something. In Indonesia, they can't afford a $3 bedpan every time someone goes to the bathroom, right? That's just not possible. That's a day's wage. And what they have in those situations is what you used to see in the movies, the big stainless steel bedpan, and then they have a machine that sanitizes them. So they're simple things. Like our product, a lot of people that don't buy this product end up being diapered. So using adult diapers is a terrible solution. You know, you think kids' diapers, people want to use cloth diapers for their children. That's good. But a child only uses diapers for about 2.5, 3 years. They're small. The BMs are tiny. You know, when you're talking nursing care, some of those people are in for 10 years. They're diapered. They're changed 3 to 4 times a day. You know, big diapers. And all of that stuff is just it's really sad how much waste is involved in that process. And, you know, it's an economic calculation for them. They're like, yes, we could wash bedpans, but we'd have to pay someone to do it. They'd have to take the time. They're just not paying the full price of the product. Like they're not paying for the disposal, the real disposal of the bedpan. Just like bottled water and other things like that. If we were charged the real cost of getting rid of that water bottle, would never drink bottled water.
And also, there's a time. Well, I'm just saying because a lot of people that are caring for elders in their home, and I'm just letting you guys know my reality.
Yeah.
So I use disposable diapers. I don't have time to wash my clothes
Right.
because I have a full-time job. I have to use the bedpans because I've tried everything. It just soaks right into the mattress, and then you've got an issue where there's urine in the mattress, and that's a bigger problem. So it's very frustrating. So I mean, right now, I know I'm using a lot of waste, but I don't really know how else I could do it.
Right, Terri.
Time management, you know.
I absolutely agree with you, Terri. We have to first, to solve a problem, you have to first identify it. So someone has to bring these things to light and say, this is a big problem. You understand the problem. You see it every day. So now the challenge is, let's find a solution for this problem. Let's come up with alternative methods for these people's waste or other things about it, and I think that needs to happen. So
there's always a solution for stuff. That's why CES Consumer Electronics Show is great. That's why I go by every single booth, and you'd be amazed what I found. And it bothers me when people don't go to these booths that people pay money for. They got great products that no one has ever seen. And again, Terri, I want you there. I want to see if I can get Rachel there, and maybe Howard for the beginning of the year when we broadcast January 2nd of next year, because there's great products that people have never seen. The solutions are there. And talking about a solution, Susan, talk about signing in Florida at your book. I was so happy for you to be there. Talk about my car that you were driving with the book there, first of all.
Well,
talk about this photo. This is a beautiful photo.
What do you want to know about it?
What was it like to finally be there?
I'll tell you. So that was in Atlanta. And so when I have book signings, because my books are nonfiction inspirational, they're not... It's different than if you're a best-selling author having a book signing. So you go where I go to the bookstores and the people and the contacts that I know, because I have to be able to have a crowd and I have to have people coming to the book signing, and that's a key to success when you do what I do. So, so that's in Atlanta, my book signing, and that was outside. That was a pretty natural shot. So that's my promo in Charleston, and so that's the Pink Figgy. And so there's a woman, Meredith Collins, who owns the Pink Figgy. It's a Nissan Figaro, and it's a very cool car. It's petite for sure, and he uses it for events and promos and all kinds of different things. And so I said, hey, I know I'm getting the Pink Figgy. And just like my launch. So it was just an idea. It worked out. People loved it. It's great. I love it.
And this is one of the things that people have a problem with. It's one thing to write the book, and then you got to market it. And I think, Tom, you know what that's like too. It's the same thing with a film. People don't know how to market their product half the time. Tom is funny with his. I know Kay knows what she's doing with her because she's raising funding for Santoy, which she's going to talk about in a minute. But Susan, talk about why it's good to be a publicist, of what you do to market people's books. You've been through that issue. You know it's not easy.
Well, the thing about people who write books not everybody's a best-selling author, unfortunately or fortunately. And so because best-selling authors and people that have been in the business a long time have publishing houses, and they do all that for them. But people like me who do what I do, and lots of other people who they might write history books, there's all kinds of books, and they have to do the marketing themselves, because you can't market, you have to market your product or nobody knows about it. And so typically I employ, like 3 components in my marketing plan, like I would do for anybody else. And thankfully I know how to do it. And I know my target audience, and I just know how to do it. I don't know what else to say about that, but because I've been doing it so long, and thankfully I'm also creative. So you have to be creative. You have to get people's attention. The visual, of course, now is extremely important with everything, and it all has to be online. So a long time ago in PR, I segued into, search engine optimization and digitalization, because really there is no more PR. It's all content. So if you can get a handle on that, you're going to be way more successful. It's important because you have to keep everything fresh. You have to keep it out there. And you have to stay on top of everybody's mind. You know, that's the key to anything, whether it's a book or Tom's product or a movie. And you have to have people who identify with the people who love it. So like a celebrity spokesperson or, you know,
product placement.
Right, and movie reviews, book reviews. You have to have people review the book. So it's a multi-pronged process, and it's never ending. And you have to be consistent. And so that's where the discipline comes in. So if you're not motivated and you're not passionate, you better just do something else because it's not gonna happen. You still have to have the discipline. That's where everything executes. If you can't be disciplined and do it every day, you're never going to be successful. I hate to say it, but some people have the money to hire people to do it for them, and that's a great thing. I mean, that'll happen someday, clearly, but thankfully I can do it for myself right now, and I help other people do it all.
Susan, give your social media links.
Let's see. So my website is snefzgerpr.com. My Instagram is snefzgerpr, at snefzgerpr. Just look up Susan Nefzger. I have great SEO. You'll find it. And my book Instagram is Tips for Fearless Living. And then I have a book website, which is Seeing Beyond the Ordinary, or just look up Susan Nefzger. You'll find it.
Yeah, you do come up pretty easily. And it was one of these things where, all right, so Rachel, you were showing something, and because Tom has these funny pictures of things around the world that he puts up, and he's got these, and there's a reason why he does them.
I saw that.
I didn't do this, but I apologize. Pictures of toilets are coming up when other people are covering important information. But
Right.
this was, today's newsletter was terrible toilet installations. And I try to share these because they're funny. Like this one I did this one I didn't quite get at first, but then you have to look at where the door is located. It's on the wrong
That's
stall,
interesting.
right? But so generally, you know, that's my job. And here's one in the toilet in the parking garage is always a classic, I suppose. So just all these strange sort of people send me these, and I love to share them.
I have a picture of one of a toilet in Italy that's just a hole in the floor in a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, you go to Europe, you'll see some crazy stuff.
Yeah, you definitely do. In Asia too.
Yeah.
You definitely see some good ones.
So we had our last Tuesday. We have an illumination event at the Hudson Theater in Hollywood, and it was very, very successful. So we had a couple photos. So Victoria was there, my other long-lasting co-host to the left, right there, and then Gia was on the right. She painted that, and everybody signed it. That's one of our first paintings going into our gallery. These were some of the dancers on left to right, and the guy painted this live photo of Montague, who was never seen, of his mom. That's the only picture that he has, so that's going into our museum, and he did it just looking at a photo just once. And we had our dancers there, and it was wonderful. We're going to repeat this September 11th, Howard and Terri and everybody, so they know. We did this independent film for the animals, Kay. This was about twins saving stray dogs in Houston, Texas, out of all places. Wonderful documentary. These two philanthropies twins, and they're going to be working with Dreamweaver Arts and the Dreamweaver Artist Ranch and movie reviews and more, because we like what we're doing. Because I'm a dog lover, and I don't want to see any stray dogs out there at all. And then I've got to talk about this. Immediate Family, Terri, we're promoting this on the 5 musicians that played on everybody's album, from James, Linda Ronstadt, Carol Kay, Linda Ronstadt, James Taylor. They're our friends. Their film was finally sold to Magnolia Photos, and he will be coming on September 20th, Danny Tedesco. And then, obviously, independent filmmakers, obviously, only in theaters, Limley Theaters. Kay, I know you know Greg and Bob Limley. So theirs is playing on demand. These are great documentaries. And these are films that I found years ago. Now they're on the distribution. So it's one of those things that Susan was talking about. When you see it, it takes a while for things to get going. But now you can see it on video on demand and Amazon Prime. excellent films. I don't waste people's time. I don't believe it. I have bad eyesight because I've watched so many bad films. That doesn't need you have to. And as Susan is showing her book, that's what it's all about. You can never promote on Movie Reviews and More. And as you see in the behind of Tom to his left, what he has and what Kay has to hers. So you gotta reach out and get this book because it's very interesting. And like I said, Susan doesn't have time to waste. And for the fact that she talked to us for 3 hours Sunday, I thought that was magnificent. So again, those are the things of what it's about. And we were talking about seniors, where in the history of the world, this is the only time where young people are taking care of their family members now, because we are an overaged world. And so that's why Dignity Lives good. That's why Susan's book is good. And so this is about loss. A great documentary on people don't like it when they say, I'm sorry for your loss or condolences. And they say, why? Tell us about that person who's passed away. Tell us about that story. And these things are really important. Again, all independent films, but great films. And then Hot Angry Mom. Howard caught the last of it last week. She did this about women, what women go through being that mom. Great independent film. They were at Dances with Films, and I was surprised to see so many people there. What else? I have a good one coming up. They're coming up next week or in 2 weeks. It's about blind going camping, hiking on Mount Baldy in California. Imagine that, taking someone up who is blind on a hike, and they wanted to do this. Excellent documentary. So, Kay, this leads into back to why you're raising money for Sanctuary. Go for it.
Yeah, man. I mean, partly we're raising funds specifically for post-production. So as much as a lot of Kickstarter, campaigns are geared towards making the film happen in the first place, we always knew it was going to happen. For us, the reason we really wanted to include a Kickstarter campaign at the back end was, one, to give a certain amount of trust, right, with our audience. And especially considering how much effort it can take to actually make these things. We wanted people to understand, like, we're going to put in as much effort as we can until we get to that breaking point. But also because we knew it was going to take a lot of effort. To Susan's point, you're absolutely right. Marketing is its own beast. If you do not approach marketing like it's an entirely separate project, you will crash and burn because it takes so much time and so much effort. And honestly, I think part of why Sanctuary was always going to be the largest learning curve was because even when we started the project, we said, we're going to pay everybody because this is not a one-day short film. This was, in fact, a 5-day short film, plus a prep day beforehand and a strike day after. So for those of us who were there for all 7 days, it was a 7-day shoot. So we wanted people to really engage as soon as possible with the content so that we also were able to give back to those who had put themselves in it, at the onset. So as much as marketing is definitely about getting that signal out there and reaching your audience, I think there's this unique position we're in right now, especially with, social media and content being king, is that engaging your audience is kind of the superpower of indie productions, right? It's the thing that you can do better than a lot of those bigger productions because they're throwing money at you, right? They're going to be able to shout into the void. Whereas, the smaller your production, the more personal your message has to be. So reaching out to that audience and saying, hey, we really appreciate you taking the time to watch, a 3-minute pitch video, which I'm very proud of that, by the way. If you guys get a chance, sanctuaryfilm.net, that it's one of the, in my opinion, one of the best videos I've ever put together as a producer. And I won't be able to say much, but we actually were able to attract a couple of investors. Of course, like I said, this is always the dialogue that happens, right? Like, you get to talking, which is great, but they, most investors also want to see that more people are joining in. So we definitely want to see more people tuning in and getting involved. Anyway, but then all that to be said, we started the Kickstarter campaign to get people involved so that we could kind of keep that energy going. And we did get to picture lock, so I'm excited about that. But now the crunch is on because the final, I think Sundance, their last submission date is September 4th. So that our last big hurdle is ADR. You know, if you're going to do any sort of audio replacement in post-production, usually you have your actors available, which because of the SAG strike, we won't. So everybody like cross fingers, cross toes that everything gets done in the next like few weeks so that we can actually use our actors to finish our post-production in time to submit for Sundance. Wouldn't that be nice? Oh, thanks for posting that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, you know, and for those who maybe aren't experienced with marketing, I highly recommend finding a consultant, even a PR agent, someone who can really walk you through how to make your marketing professional. Even if you decide you're not going to do something like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, Seed Spark is a really great way to go. I highly recommend having someone like that who can kind of keep you accountable, because now that I've learned as much as I have about the marketing side of things, it's not that I didn't know any of those things, but having someone that not just keeps you accountable, but can kind of remind you of those things as you're going through them, it really does help to keep the turnaround time fast. Because to your point, Susan, like if you don't keep consistent because you're on this rather sharp learning curve, then what can happen is while you learn the hard way because you're not keeping up with your workload, you know, you could be losing really valuable connections, really valuable opportunities. So yeah, highly recommend. And there are lots of consultants out there. Kickstarter guy, lots of books out there, including RB from Stage 32. He wrote a fantastic book on crowdsource funding. So highly recommend getting that help as you do your own marketing.
Hey, Kay, talk about why you like Stage 32 and talk about your background. And Howard,
sure.
Are you on Stage 32?
You should be.
Yeah.
You are?
Am I what?
Are you on Stage 32?
What now? Say it again.
Are you on Stage 32?
Stage 32?
Yeah. No. See, all right, Kay, tell them what it is.
All right. Everybody hold the phone. If you're in the television or film industry, really any media industry, stop everything and get on Stage 32 right now. Stage 32 is basically like LinkedIn for the industry. So it's all about making those network connections. Honestly, it's also one of the most positive and uplifting communities left on the internet, which I say specifically because, and I won't name names, but there are plenty of social media networks that can really rub you the wrong way or be more about throwing out opinions than actually getting the work done. So it's all about improving your craft and improving your business savvy when it comes to getting your projects made. One of the biggest benefits is really for writers and producers, because if you've got a project, you can list your log lines. If you have a pitch deck, you can list your pitch deck. Its sister site, Script Revolution, is really good for hosting those items as well. So Stage 32, for my money, is the best place for networking. But especially if you're trying to also level up your career, it's also a great way to kind of reinvent yourself, because I started my career in television. So straight out of Colorado Film School, I started doing true crime documentaries. I'm from the DC area, so a lot of DC we were affectionately refer to DC as Docuwood, because there are so many documentaries that come out of that city. And then I realized how ironic it was that I decided early in my career I was not going to become a police officer. And then when I decided to be in the entertainment industry and I'm still looking at crime scene photos, I'm like, whew, I got to get out of this. It's actually one of the reasons I moved to LA, was because I wanted to take more of a creative, role. So one of the things that you can use Stage 32 to kind of leverage is say, hey, like, yes, this is what I have credits in, but I really want to do more of this. Who else wants to join me? And it's a really great way to find those connections. I can continue talking about Stage 32, but I'm going to take a pause and give it back to you, because there's a lot to unpack with Stage 32. So, and if you have any troubles, navigating, reach out to me. I will happily, walk you through the website. There's so many resources. And lots of free resources.
You can't get any better than that, can you? All right, Kay, give me social media links. Go ahead.
So you can reach me on Instagram at k.ossrights. That's Chaos Rights. If you can't find me at Chaos Rights, you can also find me at Embrace Z Chaos. And I think on Stage 32, it's just KROSS.
Howard,
Thank
social media links.
Howard Wiggins Facebook, plain and simple.
Susan, why should people buy your books and social media links?
Only if they're ready to do the work and become a passionate, joyful, non-worrying person. Because people worry about stupid things these days, and it's only because we've been conditioned to, but also because of what happened during the pandemic. So now everybody worries about everything. So if we can just get rid of, if you just take every day and every moment with focus and say, well, what have I got in front of me today? That's really all we have to worry about. So my book is about learning how to navigate everything that triggers you without fear. Because once you understand what triggers you, then you're not afraid of it anymore. And so basically, you live more joyfully, and you're not worried about things that you used to be, which in today's society, it's everything. So that's why
Social media links. We got about 30 seconds. Go for it.
PR. That's Nefzger PR. Susan Nefzger.
Terri.
Nefzger PR.
At Nonstop Terri Marie on all platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And then my website is TerriMarieOfficial.com.
And Tom, please card I carry no matter where I am around the country. Social media links.
All the good stuff is at DignityLifts.com. All of it. The social media is separate, but all the good stuff is at DignityLifts.com.
All right. I want to thank everybody. It's never easy putting these shows together to see what will work and what won't work, but they seem to work all the time. So I always say this. Have a good night tonight, a better day tomorrow. If you see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it. I am Brian Sebastian. This is Movie Reviews and More, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Brian. Bye. Thanks.